Hello everybody, thanks for joining me for another Tips Tuesday video. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. Now that we've done 10 of these tips videos, I want to just kind of do a wrap-up summary and also tie these tips into a real-life shooting situation. So I'm out at the marsh doing some waterfowl photography this morning, and I just wanted to kind of tie in these tips to real-life examples, what I'm actually doing in the field, so you can actually see these tips at work and how they work all together. So the first thing to discuss is shutter speed. Now I'm photographing ducks. Most of them are on the water. They're just kind of foraging, paddling around on the water. But right now I'm shooting at about a shutter speed of about 1/1200th of a second, 1/1000th of a second, going down to about 1/800th of a second, depending on their movement. Now, if I was going to be photographing them as they're flying or flapping their wings, I'm going to push up my shutter speed faster to about 1/2000th of a second, because these little ducks move really quick when they want to. Also, if they're going to be flapping off their wings or diving down into the water, you need to have a faster shutter speed to be able to freeze that motion. Next is we're talking about continuous autofocus. I'm in continuous autofocus mode to get my photos because these animals are moving. They're moving along the surface of the water. I need to have continuous autofocus engaged so that as they're moving, I am maintaining focus on the head of the animal, which is what I'm trying to photograph. I'm also using back button autofocus because that allows me to press and hold the AF on button to engage continuous autofocus. And then when these ducks move behind a stick or a branch, which is all over these waters, I can release the AF on button. It doesn't continuously track, and then I'm able to recompose, refocus again once that duck moves past that stick. And I don't immediately jump focus onto that branch. Takes some practice, but it works really well, especially for waterfowl when there's a lot of things that can distract your camera in the surface of the water. Next is aperture. Aperture, for me right now, I'm shooting wide open. So for me, that's f4.5. That's allowing me to have as much light come through the lens as possible. With micro four thirds cameras, I'm able to have a nice deeper depth of field than full frame anyway. So I'm not really worried about having too shallow of a depth of field. And also I'm looking for that shallower depth of field because I want the ducks to stand out on the surface of the water. Just allows the sticky background to be a little bit less distracting, especially when I get lower down to the surface of the water. And having that wide open aperture is allowing me to have the faster shutter speeds that I'm going for to be able to freeze motion when they're diving, when they're moving around, and maybe when they start to take off. Next is ISO. Right now it's early spring, there's no leaves on the trees, the sun is out, it's blue sky. I'm shooting at ISO 800. That gives me the shutter speed that I'm looking for. It's gonna have nice clean files, no issue with ISO there. However, if I needed a faster shutter speed, say if I'm going to be photographing these birds in flight, I will easily push up my ISO up to about 2000 or so if need be, so that I can get that faster shutter speed to freeze that motion. Because remember, freezing the motion is priority number one, and then you can work with ISO in post if you have a noisy image. As far as customizing your cameras, so you do this kind of at home, but right now, because my camera is customized, I have my ISO adjustable to the front button up top on the OM1 Mark II. The bottom FN button on the front of the camera is my autofocus target area. So I'm able to press those buttons, adjust the autofocus, target areas, and ISO really quickly, really easily. And then I'm able to switch between video and photo to get the footage I'm looking for by the back lever here. So just having your camera customized allows you to do these adjustments really quickly in the field and get the footage that you're looking for. Especially when, lighting changes, if we had some clouds right now, or if the animals come really close and you now need to have a larger target area box, you're able to adjust your autofocus box really quickly and easily without diving into the menus and missing the opportunity. For metering modes right now, I'm just in the evaluative metering mode, so the ESP for OM shooters. And because the light is very even right now, there is some dark and bright contrasty areas because of the shadows. There's no leaves on the trees. But with the viewfinder and just using the histogram, which we'll talk about next, I'm able to see what my exposure is going to be. There's no really need to have any kind of spot metering or anything like that right now. The ninth tip we talked about was histogram. So I always have my histogram up in my viewfinder and on my LCD screen, especially when I'm positioning my camera low to the water level. I have it on my LCD screen because I oftentimes have to shoot from the screen instead of the viewfinder. So having that histogram up tells me right away what my exposure is going to look like, everything in the image, making sure everything's proper, and really allows you to get proper exposure right in the field. You don't have to do much adjustments in post. And then the last tip we talked about was depth of field. Okay, so depth of field, especially for waterfowl, is pretty important, especially when you're photographing species in this brushy section. So when you have, especially like wood ducks, hooded mergansers, they're in these areas where there's lots of sticks, lots of potential distractions, lots of things that can make the photo look really cluttered. The biggest thing you can do with waterfowl is get down low to the water level. This allows you to push that background farther away and just allows you to have a really nice shallow depth of field on these subjects. I already talked about that I'm using my wide open aperture, either f4.5 or 5.6 with the teleconverter engaged, and that already gives me a nice shallow depth of field, but putting yourself down lower to the water level really makes a big difference in helping your subjects stand out. So that's it, just a wrap up of the last 10 tips we've talked about, relating them to a real world shooting situation. I hope it was helpful. Let me know if this was helpful in the comments down below. I'll try to do these kind of continuously as we progress. We talked about a lot of fundamentals in wildlife photography so far. We have a couple more fundamentals to talk about, and then we're going to get into more of the field techniques and then the advanced tips and techniques later on as the series progresses. So thank you so much for watching. Now it's time for me to get quiet, get low, and wait for the ducks to come back to the area so we can do some waterfowl photography. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time for the next Tips Tuesday.